Hey everyone, with us today is Ryan Lamont. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. For some reason, my camera shows me super red, and I am not this red, but maybe I am. I'm not 100% sure. I'm trying to get the colors right. I'm still trying to figure out my studio settings, so just bear with me as I figure that out. But like I said, everyone gets a little introduction. So with us tonight is Ryan Lamont. He's an IT manager for an insurance company, insurance agency in Louisiana, married, he has a dog. He's between 5 and 10 years of brewing experience. He's won local homebrew competitions across Louisiana. He's a member of the Red Stick Brewmasters. He's a creative brewer who doesn't always brew to style. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So this man right here made a beer that tastes like Oreo cookie. I would love to try that out one day, and I think that'd be phenomenal. Besides that, his other activities include tennis. He's a movie buff and aspiring podcaster. Definitely a lot of things we will chit chat about. So the first question I'm just going to kind of jump in. This really caught my eye when I was going through your form that I had to fill out. So you said you got into homebrewing because you had a neighbor who kept drinking all of your expensive beers. I need to know the story. So how bad was it?
So there's a beer here. It's called Ghost in the Machine, and they release a double dry hop version of it. So it's it's $24 a 4 pack. So after we're at the pool we live out of a neighborhood pool, and we live 2 houses down from it. So I come inside and I was grilling something for us to eat, and 4 of them are all in there just in my beer fridge, and they all cracked one open and drinking, and I was like, "Man," "I just lost 24 bucks," and I said, "I'm feeding them and everything." It was 2020, so it's like we weren't really, it was a time to find a new hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "Imma take a crack at brewing beer again. Let's see how this goes," and
Mm-hmm.
I have time on my hands, on the weekends to kinda play with stuff, and I was like, "I'll buy a kegerator," so it's like something that I'm gonna stick with, I'm gonna invest the money. So I kinda just decided to kinda jump in, and I was like, I knew I would have taste testers because we had a pretty big community of people,
Hmm.
coming in
That's
and out
good.
of our house, during the week, on the weekends, that all like craft beers.
Perfect. Yeah. So now, do you brew with any of these buddies, or do they still come down and partake in all your beers?
Some do,
Okay.
not as much. A bunch of them moved out of our neighborhood,
Okay.
but we live on, like, a walking trail, like, there's a
Okay.
little man-made
That's cool.
pond.
Yeah.
So, there's all people walking their dog. So usually, if I know them, they'll get an offer, "Hey, you want a beer?" And they're like, "Oh, absolutely." And, you know, so that's people kind of meet me in the neighborhood, and they kind of know me as like, "Oh, that's the guy that brews beer." Or, I'll be outside because we basically have like a metal fence where you can
Mm,
see into the neighborhood.
mhm.
So, they'll stop by and like, "Hey, I'm just curious, what are you doing?" And I was like, I'm brewing beer." And they're like, "Oh, what are you brewing?" It just, it always leads to a conversation of something. So sometimes I'll tell them what I'm doing. I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to try that." So I was like, the next time I see them, I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Remember you want to try this?" And, um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And
yeah.
you have it on tap for them, and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's perfect. So, I live in a pretty small area. I only have like a few houses around me. I'm a little more out in the country, but I do have a neighbor that's like two doors down. His name's Tom, and he really likes my maple brown ale. But that's about 7.7%. So
Mhm.
always got to tell him he's got to kind of go slow on them because they're not as a
Mhm.
typical 5% or 4.5% beers that he's
Right.
kind of used to. But he really likes them. Man, it's an easy beer to make. It's not hard at all. Now you actually do enjoy. Actually, I should make some more this year. Not think about it. So you said earlier that this is your second attempt at home brewing. So when was your first attempt at trying to try this
Uh,
hobby?
my wife and I lived in a small condo,
Huh?
and we tried with we bought like a kit. Not I had tried the Mr. Beer a long time ago, but we kind of bought a more of a better kit to do brew in a
Uh-huh.
bag.
Uh-huh.
And we used to have a local homebrew store, so we kind of bought a kit from there.
Uh-huh.
We tried to do a sour, and
Mm.
the pH never dropped.
Okay.
And then I think we tried a New England IPA, and it got pretty oxidized. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Whenever we buy a bigger house, maybe we'll move.
Mm.
We'll try it again, or, But at that point, I was like, at this point, I'm just throwing away money, and just kind of got, I guess, discouraged. And the bottling process is terrible, and we're trying to bottle everything.
Yeah, that could be a little bit of a beast, for sure, especially if you're doing 5-gallon batches.
Yeah,
You're between, what, 46 to 50 bottles easily, right? Then you gotta cap it
yeah.
all, clean, sanitize, all that kinda stuff. Like, I still do a little bottle conditioning depending on the style, but my batches are probably 3 gallons now. I don't do much 5 anymore. I'm even thinking about dropping it down to 2, 2.5 even, because there's so many beer styles I wanna make, and I know I won't be around long enough to make them all. So having 5 gallons just sit there and not really get drank, I just end up just throwing away and just making more. And because, like I said, it's some beer styles can cost a lot of money. You can spend $80 on a beer style, or you can be as cheap as, 20, even to $20 on a smash beer or something like that. But still 5 gallons, right? So still a lot of beer to kind of drink. I like a variety. I'm kind of seasonal on top of it too. So like right now I have on my tap, I have a cloche that's getting better. I have a hard time with cloches. Like my first three I made were just garbage. This one's better. I messed up. I used Cellular Science's German yeast, but I conditioned it at the temperature of a lager, or excuse me, as an ale and not a lager. So I think that kind of messed up like the flavor profiles in it. So it's a little more bready than probably what I want. I think the build grade's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's really simple because there's not much to a cloche anyways. I think it's just that yeast. So I'll probably try like a different yeast strand. I have a hazy pale ale I have on tap for competition actually here in a couple weeks. Hops I've never used before, and I can never say the name right. I want to say Aline or Lena
Hmm,
as Elani. So it
never heard of
has
that one.
like tropical citrus notes. It has like white peach and a few other odds and ends to it. It was a experimental hop 2 years ago, I think, or 3 years ago, and now it actually has a name. I bought mine as experimental. They've been sitting in my fridge. And I was like, I had to use these for something. The homebrew club I'm in, they said, oh, these are the beers we're going to do for competitions. Like, all right, I'll use it this time. So I was even thinking about making it with a like a tropical blonde. I thought that'd be kind of tasty as well too. So it turned out pretty good. It's getting better as it ages. When I first tried it, it was like it smelled great, but the taste wasn't quite there. But now it's starting to kind of mellow, kind of do its thing in the keys right. So it's pretty fun overall.
I've kind of started moving the opposite way. I've started doing more 8-gallon batches, and
Okay,
I split them into four.
okay,
So basically, like, for example, like I brewed two beers for a birthday party for
mm,
a 1-year-old's birthday party for their guest. So basically, I brewed it, and I made the recipe for a Hefeweizen and a sour. So I got two beers out of, I got 8 gallons for each keg for, the birthday party.
that's a good
So,
idea.
the recipes are very similar, and the yeast that I use whenever I sour it kind of just works out. And but I started doing kind of the same thing when I do stouts.
Hmm.
I'll basically do, 10-gallon or an 8-gallon, or if I uh if I want to experiment with something, I may do 8, do 5 and 3,
Mm,
and usually I'll keep the 3, but the 5's for a competition or something like
hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
kind of I kind of try to just to do different things to, because I have a I have an anvil foundry, all in one, and basically it takes me 5.5 hours to do a batch.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? If I can do two beers at the same time, then I save 5 hours, and I save I save money on distilled water, I save
Yes.
money on ice. So for me, it's like, you know time is everything. So it's, if I can
Hmm.
do two beers at one time. And sometimes it's like, for instance, I have a stout that I'm working on right now, and it's going to be a cookie dough stout.
Okay.
So I have this other beer that I've done before where it's like an Oreo beer, and it's like Oreo and cheesecake. The cheesecake comes out a little, but I found some extracts that I'm gonna use,
Mm,
and I'm gonna try and see how that comes out. So it's like I have the other batch as a trial. Like if it's not good, it's not good.
Right.
But
Right.
but with the Oreos in the past, I've used gluten-free Oreos,
Okay.
and that really I find there's less something in it, and it usually when you put something like that in a beer, it kind of doesn't give it a really good head,
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff. So I find using the gluten-free Oreos, it's better than using the real Oreos.
Well, you also have like non-fermentable sugars too, right? So you don't have to worry about your ABV changing on your eggs. I assume there's quite a bit of sugar in Oreo cookies, right? So I assume there's probably less. I'm sure there's still sugars, just not from the flour or whatever they're using for it. That is pretty interesting, though. I had a friend of mine, Kobe. I think he's episode number 3. I don't think we talked about it in the podcast, but he did a Debbie cake lager. So he bought a bunch of Debbie cakes. He said the bad thing was with all the chemicals in there, all the oils floating on top. So he kept skimming and skimming, and it turned out all right. Though it was pretty interesting little experiment. I'm just not that brave to experiment. I want to. I think my most experimental one was the hazy one that I just did. Typically, I'll find a recipe. I'll do a lot of research. I'll do a like compare and contrast, and then I'll kind of see what I have on stock. I don't have a local homebrew store, so I kind of buy online. And then, of course, you got to shop around, find whoever's the cheapest, how long can you get here, stuff like that. Mine's a little more two style, I want to say, but I definitely want to get more into the experimental side because, like, with my ciders, I have no problem like experimenting with ciders, but I only make a gallon of that. So it's like it's fairly cheap overall, so I don't spend a whole lot of money, so I can throw different ingredients. If it turns out pretty good, turns out pretty good. Still fight that whole like rhino fart smell. I'm trying to
Yeah,
get rid of
yeah.
that. That's always a pain in the butt.
I use more beer a lot, and this
Okay.
is just kind of a small tip that I've found when using more beer. Add
Yeah.
everything into your cart and get off the website, and then they'll send you a text to get you 10% off.
Okay. I've not done that one yet, but I'll have to try that one.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for like because before they raise it up to $79, usually $59. So I put in, let's say $50. And I'm like, oh man, I'm $9 away. So I'll buy like a bunch of other stuff I just don't need. So I get that free shipping. I'll say, oh my gosh, it's just a battle. And
Well,
then I also do great fermentation is pretty nice because you buy by the quarter ounce, which is pretty cool.
mhm.
Which is nice.
I usually I have like a bin that I just keep all the grains in. It's all like 5-pound bags, and usually when I'm making an order, I'm spending at least 150 or $200 every
Wow.
time because
Yeah. Yeah.
I do when I do festivals, I do 3 beers. So
That's true. Yeah. That's a lot.
it's like always get the free shipping.
Hmm.
Um, we have a local homebrew store in New Orleans, which is an hour away, and some of our people in our club, they do get, like they'll mule it, they'll put in an order, they'll pick it up and bring it.
Oh, that's
But
cool. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean it's cool because I think at one point they were going out of business, and a bunch of homebrewers all chipped in to like be part owners of the homebrew store.
That's
To
actually
kind
not
of
a bad
to
idea.
kind of
Yeah.
keep it alive. And
Yeah.
I would really like to buy stuff from them, but I don't have the patience to wait. Like I might wake up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning and can't sleep, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna go brew this beer right now.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
So I'll go in my bin and like usually I'm stocked up to I can brew a couple beers or something like that because it's there's always a festival at some point where I need something. And then I always have hops, and
Hmm.
actually some of my yeast I just found had expired, so I was like, I need to buy more yeast. I had probably 4 or 5 packs of yeast that all had expired, like in I think this month.
I don't know. They still might be usable though. I mean, if you watch the like the Brewlosophies stuff I need at all, I mean,
Hmm.
basically what they do is they'll just make a starter and they'll
Yeah,
kind of get it back to life and stuff like that. So I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't quite throw it away,
I
if
tossed
you
them
want to.
already.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
I usually never really go, but there's uh there's 2 festivals in March, and one of them moved to May, so I have time to brew for the next one and get some more stuff in.
See, it sounds like you have a lot of ESA. Well, here in Tennessee, well, in my general region, because Tennessee's wider than it is tall, right? So we're not a rectangle, or even we are a very long rectangle, I should say. So like where I live, I'm in Northeast Tennessee, so they've gotten rid of like so the biggest one around here is Hobby Possum. The guy who ran that just announced this year said he's done. I was like, oh, that sucks. That
Really? Because
really, really
I
sucks.
heard that guy talk about it at
Yeah,
one of your thing, and I was curious because it looked like it was a pretty big deal.
it was. It's huge. Well, that's one of the bigger ones in this region, anyways. I mean,
So they're not doing it anymore?
no, yeah, and it's understandable. To just kind of get off topic just a little bit. What I speculate, and if Gavin's listening, he can correct me if I'm wrong. So he has the ticket sales. So he has the early bird stuff people buy. And then then you wait, and not all the tickets are sold yet. So he's already paid all this money to all the vendors and help and this, that, and the other. Then he doesn't break even or make money until the day off. And I think
Ticket sales.
that stress just got to him. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. And again, I don't blame him. But I could be wrong. There could be other things to it. He didn't really say why. He just kind of announced he wasn't doing it, and apologized and stuff like that. Thanks everybody for being part of it. I think it was up to like $10,000 in prizes and stuff like that, which is
Oh,
always kind
wow.
of cool. One thing that kind of made me upset about it, though, and I'm sure it happens where you're at as well too. It's like you'll see actual true homebrewers, but then you'll see pro brewers there as well too, and that like drives me insane. Like you're a
Competing
pro,
com
you're a professional. This is for
competing in the
homebrewers.
homebrew?
Yeah, drove me insane
So
when I saw stuff like that.
we did have, we had one of the homebrewers from Parish Brewing compete in one of the beer fests we were in. And, I mean, they make Ghost, which is, everyone's favorite, IPA here.
Hmm.
And, I think he came in 3rd place. He barrel aged something, he has a thing at his house. And he did kinda sneak into my tent a couple of times to drink my IPA, so I was like, "Aha." I was like, I was like, "You know what?" I said, "That's a win in my book." But
Yeah,
he,
no, that's
uh but he hasn't been back. He went the first time. I don't know if he got grief for it or not, but I mean, it's you know what? If you're a pro brewer and you're doing that at your house as a hobby, like, I
hmm
mean, what's to stop you from doing it? I mean, just because you do that for a living. I mean, I get both sides of it, but, in my opinion is, if it's a homebrew competition and you beat one of the, you
the
know,
pros.
the pros, like,
Yeah, bragging rights for
that's
sure.
kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, for one hundred
But there
percent.
is another beer fest here, and I think basically all beers are against each other, home
Mm,
brewers and like commercial.
that'd be okay. Yeah.
So I haven't been to that one yet.
Okay.
But I had a friend win something, and I was like, "Oh, well, this is really cool." And
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
I messaged somebody about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's basically it's not a homebrew competition. It's a who has the best beer there, period."
Right. There you
I'm like,
go.
"Well, that's pretty cool." So I was like, I think I may do that one this year. I think it's in September or October.
You should. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
So how many? So since we're talking about competitions, we'll jump into that as well too. So I guess my first question is like, how many festivals have you been to, and out of those festivals, how many have you won or placed even?
There's one that I have not placed in.
Okay.
Um, and it's kind of funny because it's a German festival, and my one of my really good friend brewers, he'll win like first and second, and somebody else wins third.
Hmm.
And I mean, he brews perfectly to style. He's an awesome brewer. Um, I don't I've never I think people like I did a Goza a couple times, and
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
they either people loved it or hated it. Like they
Yeah.
had people that stayed at our tent and just drank. It was like a cucumber lime Goza. They just stayed there
Interesting.
and drank it the whole time. And they're like, "This is amazing," and like this is really good. And, I thought I was gonna come in third because I knew he was winning because
Hmm.
we shared a table. I was like, I knew he was gonna win. But I think that's the actually only one that does a cash prize. And I think it's like $100 or something like that, which is,
Okay. Yeah.
but it's pretty small. Like it's a festival and there's a homebrew tent. So the homebrew tent, I think you pay $20 and you can drink all you want. So or till till it's gone. And
Right.
there's a couple different homebrewers there. So I didn't go last year, but I think I will go back this year again. Um, but there's one that I don't know if you ever heard of Zapp's potato chips.
Yeah. Yep.
But there was
ZAPPS. Yeah.
yep. So they put on a festival here, and basically, for the longest time, it was like the only beer fest. It was like, the best. It was like the funnest day. The weather was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like at a rural life museum,
Mm-hmm.
and like the weather was good. It was great. One year it did pour down raining, and they still kept it on. Like you couldn't tell who anybody was because they had rain jackets and hoodies and boots on. I mean, but it was like the show must go on, and it
Mm-hmm.
did. That one's not a competition. The first one I competed in, I came in first, which I knew I was kind of
Good
hooked.
job.
I knew I was kind of
Oh,
hooked
I
then.
bet.
Yeah. Um, and I struggle with the mail-in competitions. That is the when you
Yeah.
gotta mail in the bottles. That is my struggle. And if it's local, I usually might place with what I put in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done some stuff to Houston and Dallas, and I did the national competition.
Okay.
And like, you know, uh, what was the guy's name that owns the homebrew store? He hit the nail on the head when he was like, "If you're trying to ship a New England IPA to one of these competition, what are you doing?" And I was like, "That's me. I'm shipping those
Yeah.
beers." When
I
he
did
when
it
he
on the
said
head.
that, I was like, guilty as charged. I was like,
Yeah.
I struggle with that. And I actually um saw who won one time, found the guy either on Instagram or Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
messaged him, was like, "Hey, like I came in dead last on this, I don't know what place." And I was like, "I'm just curious how you're sending in your beer to not get it
Mm-hmm.
oxidized." And he responded within minutes and said, "Hey man, appreciate it." Because I congratulated him. "I appreciate the congratulations." And he was like, "I can my beers." So I was like, "Okay." I I did think about buying a canner at some point, and there was I do a March Madness bracket every year, and I had been in this bracket probably for the last 20 years. Never even broke the top 10 ever. And came down to the final game, and I was in second place.
Oh wow.
So if I win this, I'm buying the canning with this.
Yeah.
Came up to halftime. I can't remember who. I think it was last year. I can't remember who it was, but they were up by 20 points at halftime or something
Holy
big.
crap.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I had it in my cart, ready to go. So I'm watching this game, and whoever it is just keeps coming back, coming back. It's like, man, I was like, I'm not getting my canner, am I? Sure enough, they lost. So I went from second place to 15th place and didn't get any money. So I was like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
But I've considered it. I don't know. Just the only time I really bottle things is to do a competition. And I do a lot of
Yeah.
local ones. We have a couple brew clubs locally that have a couple, that do stuff, and usually somebody will, pick them up locally and bring it to the other club and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
your beer's never really hot that long. The biggest thing is, if I bottle an IPA and I send it out tomorrow, once it gets in the mail, you really don't know where it's going. And then once it gets to said place, is it going in a refrigerator? Is it going in a closet somewhere? Like you don't know what happens, and next thing you know, it's brown and oxidized.
And then there's the weather conditions. So one of the gentlemen I talked to, Jay Wilkes, I brought up earlier, the competition medal winner guy. He told me a story. I think he shipped up one to like Wisconsin or Minnesota or something like that. And I guess when it was at the warehouse, still not delivered to his destination, all of his bottles exploded because it was like negative whatever degrees out. So there's that other aspect too. You have to think about, like, well, if I want to ship these up north somewhere, like what's the temperature going to be? But he gave a couple of interesting ideas on how to ship it. Uh, I don't remember if it was in the podcast or if he told me personally, but I know he used whale pods as the container to ship.
Yep, that's what
But
I
these
have one
don't.
of those.
Okay, yeah. And then there's something else I'm trying to remember
Maybe if
now.
I'd have wrapped it with a wrapped in an ice, not ice, but like an ice
Something.
pack or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it may help it out a little bit. Yeah.
But usually when it comes to festivals, we're pretty good. We're kind of loud at our beer fest. Like when you drop off a People's Choice ticket, like
Hmm.
we blow whistles and ring bells. Like people hear us from all over the place.
There you go.
And last year we did a giveaway to get Instagram viewers.
Hmm.
Probably, I don't know, a week before the beer fest, I started emailing anybody that I knew on Instagram or random restaurants asking for gift cards. So I got 250 or $300 in gift cards, and I did a giveaway.
Hmm.
So I got like 60 new Instagram followers, and basically I did two giveaways. The first one was like $200, and I think the other one was $100,
Wow. Hmm.
and it was like gift cards of breweries, restaurants. One of them was like a pickleball place. It was like they gave me $50 for pickleball and $50 for like food and drinks.
That's cool.
Another one gave me $100, so I kind of split those up. People were coming back to our tent, to make
Hmm.
sure they win and trying the beers again, and like yeah, then they're giving me their tickets. I was like, so it kind of worked because I brought people back to our tent, to vote. And I mean, I don't have a marketing background, but I figure random things out to do.
There you go. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, if you give somebody a $20 gift card to a brewery, they're gonna, that's good for the brewery because it brings them in the door,
Hmm.
and they're gonna
Hmm.
spend more than $20 at a brewery.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
So
Food alone.
yeah, so we struggle with food at our breweries. We have a weird law where you have to have a certain amount. Like if you have food, you have to have a certain amount of food sales and that kind of stuff. So
Interesting.
our laws are a little different here. So a lot of our breweries don't have food. So we have a lot of food trucks and pop-ups at
Yeah,
breweries.
same here. I don't think we have the same laws, but I know a lot of the brewers that I know. It's just another financial risk they don't really want to quite take on, right? It's scary enough to do a brewery, right, and then to throw food on there, it's just even more difficult. There's some that do jump both feet in, and they do a great job at it. One that pops in my head, it's called it's called Tennessee Hills Distillery. So he actually makes spirits, but he also has a brewery as well too in Johnson City. But he has a dedicated food truck that he owns as well. So he does food sales. So, but I feel like his liquor sales probably does really well for him, so he can afford to potentially lose money on food costs and stuff like that. But I did want to ask if somebody who was interested in getting into competitions who had never done it before, like what would be your advice to kind of nudge them over that edge and say, well, just go ahead and submit and just gonna see what happens.
That's like doing a festival.
Yeah, a festival competition. Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot because I didn't really have the equipment to do it, and I got kind of lucky. This guy put something on. We have a big community Facebook group like in Louisiana. It's called the Church of Sacred Brew,
Okay.
and it's people post beers when new beers are coming out. And there's this one guy in there, the guy who runs it. His name is Paw Paw, and he is the staple of craft beer in Louisiana. Like everybody knows him. He's Louisiana famous. He might be Texas famous too, but he's famous. And he shared something. This guy was giving away all of his homebrew equipment, so I needed
Hmm.
kegs. So I went to his house to pick up the kegs, and I said, "What do you?" He had a trash can that had taps on the front. I said, "What do you want with that?" He goes, "I'm just gonna throw it away." I was like, "I'll take it." And he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm doing a beer fest in 2 weeks," and I said, "I don't know what I'm gonna do." I said, I was gonna figure something out, but I said if I can use that. He goes, "Oh yeah, just take it." I was like, what do you want for it?" And he's like, "No, just take it. Like it's it's taking up too much space." So I took that, and it is it is that first one I had. The beers are always cold, and they always pour it perfectly because the taps are in the front, so the
Hmm.
lines are always cold.
Yeah, it's
So
submerged. Yeah.
I've rebuilt a new one And basically it's still a trash can and there's a top on it and there's a tap tower on top.
Mhm.
So that one works well, but the one with the beer taps on the front work work way better because it's colder. But the only problem with that one is, that the next day from bending over the whole time, your back hurts. So that's why I got the tap tower now. So you don't have to bend over and do that kind of stuff. And it looks better too. Um, and also when you're done with the beer fest, you just throw everything back in the trash can and throw it in the car and you're good to
Away
go.
you go.
Yeah. So I would recommend if anybody want to jump into doing beer fest to find your way to pour beers, like, and that's
Mm,
your key way, and
yeah.
just do it. I mean, everybody, it's a fun event, and you might get criticism, you might not, like you might. It's a it's just a way to learn, like, and to get. My favorite thing about it is talking to people about what I
Mhm.
made.
Yeah.
That's my
100%.
favorite part about it is because we get a lot of people that come to our tent and say, "We don't like beer."
Mhm, mhm.
And they're at our tent the whole time because 'cause they're like, "This margarita sour you made is awesome." Like, it tastes like I'm
That sounds
drinking a
pretty good.
margarita.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the amount of people that, like, don't like IPAs love my IPA because it's not like
Okay.
it's hoppy, but it's not, like, punch in the face hoppy.
Okay.
Um, it's just it's a good, easy IPA, and it's not bitter. I mean,
Is it
it's
more
it's
fruity
it's
then?
more fruity. It's more fruity.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I use a hop called Super Delic.
I think I heard of that one.
So Super Delic I think it came off of Necatron,
Okay.
and the first bag I got, I think it was $35 a pound, and I was like, which is pretty expensive for a 1
Mhm.
pound of hops. So I brewed something with it, and I was like, "Man, this is it. Like, this is awesome." So I went back to Yakima, and they didn't have any. Like, they were sold out.
Mm.
So I sent them an email like, "Hey, like, when are y'all getting any more?" And they're like, "We actually have 2 bags left that somebody canceled their order if you want them." I was like, "Ship them to me." So I found this other small, hop. I don't know if it was, the one in Michigan or somewhere else, Michigan
Mm,
hop,
mm.
and they had 3 bags left. So I just bought it all. I was like, I loved it that much. So I actually just used my last bag from 2 years
Okay.
ago.
Wow.
Because think I had 5 or 6 bags. I was putting it in every IPA I was making.
Mhm.
And they just came out with a new version. So I just brewed, oh, not a new version, the new year. I
Mm,
actually
mhm.
just brewed my IPA with that and Galaxy.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I haven't really tried it yet, so I'm kind of waiting to see how it is, but it's, because those hops can change from one year to another.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kinda waiting to see how it came out, but it's, like, all super delics and then, like, an ounce or 2 of Galaxy hops.
Yep, that sounds actually, that sounds pretty, like I said, the first hops, I'm not sure, but I had Galaxy House before, so, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Galaxy at the beginning of craft beer was, like,
Mhm.
the hop to brew with. It was hard to get, and then it took a spiral down where you have to watch, um, how much you use and what temperature you use it at. If if you use it in a boil, it's gonna make your beer bitter. If you put it in the whirlpool, if you put in too much, it's probably still gonna be bitter. What I figured out was to use it when I cold crash. I put it in for probably 2 or 3 days, and it kinda gives it a little hint of Galaxy.
Oh, okay. There you go, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't really well, I heard y'all, with the homebrew guy, talking about brewing for, the chillers and that kinda stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so the one thing so the IPA I do is called Hydra. It's called Hell Hydra.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, I
yeah,
remember that from
yeah,
the
yeah,
podcast, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I started brewing that, and because I was using a hop called Hydra to brew
Mm,
with, and
yeah.
I got that from the Beer and Brewing podcast. Like, they raved about these hops, and I was like, well, let me see if I can get some of that. And I went to the Michigan Alliance, and I got it from them. So I started brewing this beer. I was like, man, Hell Hydra sounds like a cool name, and then sure enough, it's a hope Marvel has never came after me for it yet, but you know, I haven't got the cease and desist letter yet, but
Right.
it would be, I don't know, might be kind of cool to get now, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but there's actually I kind of use Hydra still, but I don't really use it as much. Like sometimes I'll just put an ounce in just to say, you know,
That's
I'm
still this.
there's still this, you know.
I
But
like it.
and then I started using when I started using a Super Delic, I started calling it Super Hydro.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. That's a good
You know,
name.
so I was like, and then the festival we did last year, I brewed the Super Hydro, and I
Mm.
was like, this is good. Like, and the guy who the director of the competition, he came up and
Hmm.
he goes, man, he goes, I've had Hydra every year. This one was the most dialed in it's ever been. You know, so yeah, you know, it's a good beer. I brew that beer more than any other beer that I've made.
Okay.
It's my favorite. Everybody knows when they come, like I'm always gonna have an IPA because we drink a lot of IPAs here. So I was like, I'm always gonna have that one, usually
Mm.
on tap, or if I'm going to a
Okay.
competition, I'm gonna make that one. But that being said, brewing it all year, I always started to notice that in November and October it was always better. And it's because our house, I'm put everything at room temperature, so the house
Okay.
is cooler at that
Hmm.
time.
Right.
And so I never really put the two together, like why it was so much better at that time. And I was like, because our house, you know, it stays 68 degrees all the time, versus during the summer it gets hotter.
Hmm.
So I started kind of setting my kegerator to 65 degrees and hopping it or
Mm.
dry hopping it in
Hmm.
there because I don't have a chiller, but I have two kegerators, so I can do I can move everything to one kegerator and set my other one to 65, 64 degrees
Right. Yep.
and just have it ferment in there.
That's actually a good idea too. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many ways to do cool things in this hobby. It just amazes me. Like I've talked to quite a few people so far, and just everyone's technique is slightly different and unique every single time. I just find it so fascinating. Because I don't have a proper temperature control. I've made my own janky thing, which I'm sure you probably already heard. But I think it's neat for what it does. It works for the most part. My beers turned out, I think, fairly well overall. Um, I don't brew as often as I would like to. It's just again like time, like you said before, like, I have time restraints. I mean, I don't know if I said this before in podcast, but I have my granddaughter every other weekend, so
Mhm.
so I only have every other weekend to potentially brew something because I want to spend time with her because she's still a toddler and no, she's fun right now, right? She's up and
Mhm.
moving around and climbing on stuff, so it's a good time. But I do kind of want to go back to the festival thing real quick and just kind of bring this all up as an aside. Um, I know in Tennessee you have to get your ABC license before you can serve anything, so you may want to check your state level stuff or city level stuff. Make sure if there's a license needed. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Like, oh, I thought I could serve here, and you can't because you need your license. I just kind of want to bring that up real quick.
Yeah.
Um,
In Louisiana, usually they ask whoever's doing the homebrew competition usually asks for a list of names, and they handle all that.
okay.
So I've never had to get a license
So
myself.
there's no state level one. Okay, yeah. So Tennessee, you do. It's like $30. It's good for, don't quote me, but I think 3 to 5 years or something like that. It's like a 3 hour video you watch, you take a test, and it's done. I guess it's not really hard. Like even like people at restaurants here have to, if they serve alcohol,
Yeah.
they have to take this. It's the same exact test. So it's just kind of cool because if my job fails, I can go be a bartender somewhere, right?
There you
So
go. Yeah, I know our they have to have a liquor license here if you're working in a restaurant, I believe as well. I know especially
okay,
bartending. I'm
yeah,
guessing that as a restaurant as well.
but not so much for like the homebrew festivals. Yeah,
No, I've never been asked to get
never.
that, but it's
Okay.
you know, maybe they just apply for it. But so for I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
If say I wanted to go do a pop-up somewhere
Yeah.
at a say of a restaurant that does not have I've never done this, but if I
Hmm.
went to go say a restaurant that doesn't have a liquor license and we wanted to give away beer, then I can go apply for like a beer fest license
Okay.
for 3 days. I've Googled this before. I've never done it, but it sounds like that if you apply for this, then you can actually give away beer. Like if you did an event and you were going to have it at you have to do like 2 or 3 ounce pours or whatever,
Yeah.
but you can get that license.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. I never really thought about that.
And I think
You,
you can only do a certain amount, like maybe 10 per year or 12 per year or something like that.
that's still a lot though, really.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I guess that would be, I guess see like the positive side of that. So let's say you wanted to open up a brewery, but no one's really had your beer. So if you were able to do pop-ups within like
Mhm.
the town that you're in or county even,
Yeah.
like this is what I'm doing, blah, blah. I plan on opening a brewery. At least you can judge the response from the crowd. Like either they love my stuff, but they only like these 5 styles. So these are going to be my 5 house beers before I make other things or whatever. Actually, that's actually not a bad idea. Um, I love talking about disasters and heart lessons. We've all had them. I've had my fair share. I've talked about mine. I'm not going to bring up any of mine, but Ryan, the strawberry incident, set the scene for us. Like, what happened when you threw these strawberries into like an active fermenter?
So so basically I had, I think, 6 pounds of strawberries. I was doing a sour, and I was kind of in a hurry
Mm-hmm.
to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna, it's fermenting. I'll just do it now. I'll just add them now. It's gonna, it'll get the flavor. It'll sit in there." And so the next day, I think it was a Saturday night, me and a buddy are watching football, and all of a sudden I hear like this loud clicking, or loud, like, not a boom, but it's like it was a loud enough sound that we both looked at each other and like, what's that? So I go and I look, and it's like this thing is just like overflowing from the sugars from the strawberries. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, I don't really know. And I didn't have a blow off tube at the time.
Okay.
So
Oh.
I had just a regular three, like
Mm-hmm.
the thing with the three piece, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot what you call it,
Trying to
airlock.
like, you're like,
Yeah,
yep.
airlock. So I was like, oh man. So I was like, so you start Googling, and they're like, oh, you got to make uh, uh, a tube to put on top of it. So it gets, I'm like, okay. I was like, you know what? It was cold. I was like, I'm going to move. And I think I was using Kavik at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna move this to the garage. The temperature's not, and I think it was wintertime. The temperature's not gonna do it. So I pick up the fermenter, I move it to the garage. And then all of a sudden, I put it down, and we're talking about, I'm wiping the side of it, and it pops up, and strawberries go all over the wall, all
Oh my
over my
gosh.
hair, all over my face. Like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I have to tape this. I have to do something. So I went and get the duct tape, taped the airlock down, kept the hose on top, took a towel, wrapped it around it, and all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. So, I took a shower, washed my hair, did all that, and then I come back and I'm like sitting in a chair, and I went to scratch my ears, and I still had like strawberries on top of my ear. I'm like, man, I was like, there's just strawberries everywhere. So usually the beers, when I usually name them after something that happened during the
Okay.
brewing
Yep.
incident.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
So the name Exploding Strawberries came out.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. But yeah, they had strawberries. I mean, pieces of strawberries all over the wall, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was a it was a I've learned my lesson now.
Okay.
Make sure I wait till after fermentation to throw those strawberries in, or when I cold crash, I throw the strawberries in, but never in the middle of fermentation.
So how happy was the wife?
I cleaned it pretty well, but I have a feeling when we sell this house, we're gonna have to repaint that room.
There you go. Perfect. I like it. That sounds great. Oh, that's so funny. Oh man. So I guess on the flip side, have you ever made a mistake that actually turned the beer to be better?
I don't know. I'll come back to that one.
Okay,
I have to
fair
think
enough.
about that. I have to think
That's
about that one.
yeah. I was
Actually,
like,
I've had some uh
oh,
stuck mashes before,
okay, yep.
and I had to basically take everything out, put it in my old mash tun, kind
Mm,
of clear that, put it back in, for the mash a couple times,
wow.
and I'm always like, this beer's this beer's gonna be crap. Like,
Hmm.
this is and a lot of times that's the beer that wins.
Okay, there you
So,
go. So there you
yeah,
go. So
I mean
there's a
it's
little accident.
yeah, beers that have are one time I had I forgot to close the spigot on my fermenter and I started filling it up,
Mm, yep, done it before.
and I turn around and the garage is or the patio is basically flooded with a stout, and I'm like, oh no. That's happened. So I always make sure that thing's closed now, but that's happened a couple times.
I've done a pot. I fill a pot with water and I forgot the like the spigot was open. Me and my dumb butt, like I think I put in like I grab like 3 gallons at a time and I pour them all in. So we end up losing like what is that noise? I'm looking around like, oh crap, it's on. So like I'm trying to do the balancing act to keep pouring and trying to take one hand and turn it off, and it's quite comical to watch because I don't one's here to watch me do all this
But
juggling around.
I've done stuff where I'm like, this is not gonna work. Like, we have it's kind of an orange. It's called a satsuma,
Okay, never
and it's
heard
kind
of it,
of
but
like
yeah,
it's like an orange, but it's like you can easily peel it.
okay.
So I've taken probably 20 to 30 of those. They're small, and I froze them, and then I blended them into a puree, and I've made a sour with that before. And so I was like, man, I was like, this is not gonna be good. Like something's gonna contaminate it. But that
Mm-hmm.
one came. I've only done it once, but that one came out pretty well. But the Oreo was probably the biggest one that it was an experiment,
Yeah.
and the first time I made it was the best. I usually take notes of everything, the
Mm-hmm.
adjuncts and how I'm doing stuff, and I have notes of that one, but I don't know why it's never been as the first time it tasted like an Oreo cookie. And I've done it 2 more times after that, but the first time was just the best.
Best.
And
Yeah.
and I can't figure out what I did differently.
So the first one gluten free too, like you said earlier,
Yep, I use gluten-free.
free for all of
I
them.
have a feeling that because sometimes I'll use like a fruit or something like that, and then I'll use a tiny bit of extract to kinda enhance it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
flavor's there, but I'm like, I wanna add like, when I do my margarita sour, I'll add probably 4 pounds of mangoes to it,
Wow.
and then I'll add a mango extract when I keg it. So it kind of enhances like, mangoes are pretty expensive in
Mm-hmm.
general, so, adding 6 pounds, it's, probably $20, and it's like, you can only fit so much in the fermenter,
Mm-hmm.
so it gives it a good taste, but I'm like, I wanna enhance it a little bit. So it's like, you
Right.
know, instead of adding a bunch of, extract, I'll use, a couple ounces, and it kinda
Mm-hmm.
pushes, the flavor out.
So one thing I noticed with extracts, like it brings more to the nose than it does to the palate, or at least the beers I've made. Right. There's definitely more on the nose because I make a blueberry honey ale, which is really good. But I use an extract with it, so the smell is phenomenal. You smell blueberries, so it smells really great. Not much on the palate. So I'm thinking, or at least a buddy might suggest maybe using like a blackberry puree or something like that, because blueberries themselves don't have a whole lot of flavor. But you want that dark fruit flavor. So you said maybe try like a blackberry puree, but the same extract and see what that tastes like. That's what I was gonna make for the Happy Possum competition, but now we're not having it, so I'm not
Yeah.
making it. But the
It's
other
actually
competition I wanted to bring up was it's called a Thirsty Orange. That one comes up, I think, in April. That's in
mhm.
Johnson City, Tennessee. It just popped in my head. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Shit, I lost my train of thought, what I wanted to say.
That's all good.
Well, the Hoppy Possum, I
Yeah.
was actually so I have a friend that lives in Nashville.
Okay.
Um, she's probably gonna listen to this and, hi, Stacy. So it's always been a joke that we're gonna do a beer fest in Tennessee and basically, have them come help us at the beer fest. So when you said, I saw the Hoppy Possum, I was like, oh man, this one sounds like so much fun. So I
Hmm.
started looking online to try to find out when it was, and I was like, man, I was
Yeah.
like, I can't I can't find when this beer fest is. And then I was that was one of my notes I wrote to ask you on this was like when's that gonna be? And I was like, so did he
Sadly,
have
not gonna
help and like a
happen.
staff to like help him and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so he had a lot of volunteers. I want to say
Yeah.
there's probably at least 20 volunteers I say to help him. But I know he paid for like the bands, the DJs. I think he gave some money to like some of the food trucks as well too, because they were there all day long as well. Uh I forget, I don't know what else he paid for. It's like I didn't know Gavin very well. I met him for like a quick moment, but my other homebrew buddies, they know him very well. So like maybe they may comment and kind of maybe update something. But like I said, it could be somebody even personally he doesn't want to talk about as
Right,
well
right,
too. So
right.
but I know Thirsty Orange is kind of big. It's more of our like a early spring, almost summertime one. That's in Johnson City. I've never made it. I'm usually on vacation somewhere. But this year I'm definitely going to HomebrewCon because I'm only like 45-minute drive to Asheville. So I'm definitely going to that. So I'll be there for sure. I'm having a blast. Already got my ticket, hotel, I had all that good stuff.
Yeah, we've been to Asheville, I think 3 times.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
breweries there.
yeah, the Burial is actually doing a collab with Parish in
Hmm.
which is here, the people that
Mhm.
make Ghost.
Oh, is it? Okay, so I like
Yeah,
bears. I've had some bears
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That was today. They actually came out with the release today, so I'll have to go look and see. I
There you go.
totally forgot about it because they usually so the DDH Ghost in the Machine, it used to sell out in 20 minutes online.
Wow.
And I mean, we used to go wait in line to get it.
Hmm.
Like that's how crazy it was. Like we were um well before that, they would only release the original Ghost spare like randomly. So like they'll have a thing like, hey, we're having Ghost today at noon. So people would start showing up at 9, 10 o'clock to wait in line. And I mean, it was, I kind of miss those days. It was like you would stand in line with these people and meet
Yep.
random people in the beer
Yep.
world. And, when COVID happened, they had to sell beers online.
Hmm.
And, I do think it's a great thing that they can do that online. But I kind of miss the waiting in line and just kind of,
Sit down with people.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, it was like that was so good for the brewery because
Hmm.
somebody can just go pick it up and leave versus before you were waiting in line for 2 hours and,
Right.
you were gonna hang out at the brewery after because like, who wants to leave after, you just sat in line for 2 hours to wait and get something. Um, but I mean, it's I don't know. Some people may think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think, especially if they had a food truck and that kind of stuff, and you
Hmm.
could go in and get a, a pour while you wait in line and that kind of stuff. So I do miss kind of those kind of releases and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
We don't have too many releases around here very often. I think the only one I know of for sure that still does releases is Zool in Knoxville. Um,
So
they do quite a few.
have you asked the guy that I think he works at Zool now, and he's the oh man, I'm trying to think. I watched his YouTube videos
Mhm.
for a while, and like that was how I found out about Kavik yeast and that kind of stuff. And he has a
Oh,
big
CH
yes,
Homebrew for
yes,
Life. Yeah. So I've
yeah,
reached out to him a couple of times. I've not got nothing back from him. He doesn't really do much homebrew anymore.
yeah.
He has another YouTube channel where he's fixing up his house. But I
Hmm.
would love just to chit chat with him. I think he'd be a fun time.
I think he would be awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I've messaged him before. I was like, for these videos because it's like they're fun, they're
Hmm.
entertaining,
Yep.
But I think he works at Zool. I think.
I feel like he does too because he talks about him. I mean, he was talking about him quite a bit. So CH,
Yep.
contact me.
Yep. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I
'cause I know he
like
hangs out with the Clawhammer Supply guys, which is weird. So where I live, so like I'm 45 minutes from Clawhammer Supplies. I'm an hour and a half away from Knoxville. So CH would drive right past my house to go to Asheville, and vice
nice.
versa. Clawhammer guys they would drive right past my house. No, that'd be a great time. I love his videos. I mean, he's younger than I am, obviously, but like all the stuff that he shows, like stuff I grew up with or watched my little brother watch because I'm 10 years older than my brother. So my brother
Right.
was like into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I was a little too old for that stuff. But I definitely watched it, you know, with my brother. It's like, oh, I love these little blurbs he would throw in there, and his comedic humor was great, and he made some crazy freaking stuff. Because I did his black lager, his short spear. I did the same way. I have cool overnight in my garage because it was like wintertime, so in my garage is like 55 degrees or whatever. So I'll let it, you know, do his thing, and then I pitch the yeast, all that kind of stuff. And then I remember serving it to a friend of mine up in Michigan. I went up there for a week or two, and he's like, "This is a black lager." He's like, "Yeah, man, this looks like a porter." So no, it's a lager. I swear it's a lager. He's like, "No, it's not." It's like, it's a short spear. Just look it up. So he tried it and he drank it. It's like, oh, this is delicious. But it being black as night is messing with my brain. I was like, yeah, it
Yeah.
did me too. It's like, I didn't understand it either. No, 'cause you get lagers and pilsners, they're like, they're, crystal clear, they're, hay color, blonde or whatever. They're just really clear, beers. And you can think it's just black as a porter. You're like, I just don't get this. But yeah, that's a good beer. I don't know if you made one yet, but if you
I've
haven't, I'll
actually
put it
never
on
made
your
a
bucket
lager
list.
before. I heard you talking about your pseudo lager, which that's something, and I've bought the stuff to do it. I've just never done it.
Spunding valve, yep. They
Yeah.
turn out pretty good. Like, you'd be surprised. Some people have a hard time kind of figuring it out. Because you suppress a lot of the off flavors, like all those weird esters that you can kind of get. That helps out for sure. I'm trying to think of what I did. Yeah, it's before I built my little cold side station I got, but I still like to do under pressure. I think that's a really easy way to do things, and that way it's even like it's already pre-carved. So all you gotta do is cold crashing. You start serving beer the next day. Then good, I know you can do the what is that called? The fast pressurization. Why am I drawing a blank? Where you crank it up to like 30 psi, you let it sit for 24, 48 hours. But yeah, but if you get a spunny valve, just try it. Just make one. Like I did a Mexican cerveza, turned out really good like that. A lot of people thought it was a true lager, so no, it wasn't. Uh, but I pre-limed mine though too, so I already threw like a bunch of limes in. And just kind of get that flavor
Did you
going because
do?
most people
When
like
did you put the limes in?
after it was done.
Okay,
Yeah, so
you
it
could.
completed
Yeah,
all the way through, and then I let it cold crash overnight, and then I threw in my limes.
I've done lime peel sometimes, like in like the last 10 minutes of the boil, and it kind of it's hit or miss. Sometimes you really get the lime, sometimes
Yeah,
you don't. Depends what I think it depends what yeast you use for it for something.
right.
Because the first time I did that margarita sour, like you got the lime, you got the lemon, and you got the mango. The next time it was
Mm-hmm.
like you got more lemon.
Interesting.
But I do know the first time I did it, I used we have a small lime tree, and we probably get 8 limes every
Okay.
year,
Yeah.
and I used the lime peel from that. So, it was more a fresh lime than a store-bought lime.
Right.
So maybe that's where I got it, but I've also this is something interesting that I thought of is the leaves on our lime tree smell really good, and I've thought of throwing those into the boil before just to see what happens. Like, just to see if it would,
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Let's see what
because I
happens.
mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like the boil would kill off anything,
Mm-hmm.
but the I've the smell of them, I mean, they just smell amazing.
Yeah.
So
Why not try it? I mean, right.
do a dry hopped, lime.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. All right. Yeah. I know. So when I make a strawberry lemon hard cider. Tastes phenomenal. The first time I did it, it was okay, but I got better. Though the key thing is like you don't want any pith. So when you peel the lime or lemon rather, you just want the yellow part. You don't want no white part at all because that adds in a lot more bitterness. So I don't know if that was maybe your lime situation where you had a little more pith than you probably wanted, made it a little more bitter than
It
what
wouldn't
she
really
was
it's not
expecting.
really bitter.
Okay, this is a more pronounced.
I don't I don't ever get a lot of bitterness out of things I do because it's like when I brew like my
Hmm.
IPAs don't have hops in them until the whirlpool.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't add, and then I whirlpool at around 165.
Okay.
So I get it pretty
That's
low.
right. Yeah.
by that
That's
time,
really
and then
interesting.
yeah, and then I do, I usually hop it. I do like a biotransformation if I use the
Huh.
Super Delic, because they say that's a good hop to do
Mm-hmm.
biotransformation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever get anything out of it, but in a muslin bag, I'll take like 4 to 5 ounces of hops, and I'll throw that in there for a couple days, and then when it's done fermenting, before I do my second dry hop or the initial dry hop, I'll pull it out of the muslin bag and just dump the hops into the fermenter.
Okay.
Um, and then when I cold crash, I do another probably 4 ounces of a different hop in there.
Well,
So I kinda
interesting.
like I kinda
Yeah.
like layer the hops into different flavors.
That's a deal. I've yet to really do an IPA. I'm kind of on the fence.
Well, that hoppy pale ale should be very similar that you made.
Yeah, so it's only like 38 IBU. I kind of treated it like my so I did a Sierra Nevada clone
Mhm.
or their pale ale for a competition last year, and I liked that IBU level. I thought that was pretty good. So I kept this at the same. So I figured out the math, or well, I didn't figure out the math. Brewfather figured out the math for me.
Yeah.
I just kept adjusting until I got 38. I think that's, oh no, and I did a creamsicle IPA, which turned out pretty good. It wasn't too bad. I wish I would have used Citra, 'cause I think I used Galaxy in that one, and I probably should use Citra instead to get more of the
So
orangey flavor out of it.
in the whirlpool, I just use either Citra or Mosaic.
I love Mosaic. Yeah.
I don't
Oh.
f in in my opinion,
Hmm.
I don't think I get a lot out of a whirlpool. I think I get most of my flavors through the dry hop.
Right. Yeah.
I think I get something out of it, but I don't get a lot
Hmm.
because I started doing a split batch for like it's kind of like a strawberry pale ale.
Okay.
Well, it's I use a German yeast. It's kind of like a Germany pale ale. I don't know. It's like
Okay.
a hybrid beer. So I basically started doing my Hydra recipe, and I'll just split it into 8 or or 4 or 5 gallons each.
Hmm.
When I do the strawberry one, it has no real hop flavor at all.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm doing a whirlpool of 10, I don't know, 10 ounces of hops for 25 minutes at 165. And versus when I drink the Hydra, I'm like, I do the dry hop, and I'm like, that's what all my aroma is. So
Mm.
and it could be the yeast that I'm using. That's maybe not, not like promoting the hop flavor, I guess.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. Like I would love for you to ask that question to, people that do
Hmm.
New England IPAs, if they feel like if they get a lot of hop flavor when they do a whirlpool, or is most of the flavor coming from the dry hop?
Try hobby. Yeah, I'll definitely give that a mind for sure. Yeah, I'll be curious. 'Cause I know a few people that actually do it. So I kind of want to get into your homebrew community that you're in, the Red Stick Brewmasters. Um, so go ahead and like tell us about the club. What it's like. Kind of what you kind of like. What's the vibe there?
So our vibe is pretty fun.
Okay.
It's our meetings are the first Thursdays of every month. Every meeting has a style. So basically, in every meeting, you'll have a variance. You have a style. So basically, you can brew that style or not. I mean, you
Hmm.
can brew that style. Um, let's see. And sorry, somebody just texted me. Lost my train of thought. It'll vary from 2 people having it to
Mm.
6 or 7 people having a style. So our style for this month is Irish Red.
Okay.
So
That
we're expecting
makes
7
sense.
people to have beers at the homebrew meeting tomorrow. Um, so it's versus maybe the meeting in November maybe only had 1. So it's
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's hit or miss, and we usually have between 10 and 15 people at the meeting.
Okay. Yeah. About my size. Yeah.
Yeah, and we rent out a room at this restaurant, and basically, their biggest thing is like they give us a discount on the room, and their biggest thing is like, please eat, buy some beers at the bar, and that kind of stuff. Because like 10 or 15 people in a restaurant is pretty good. To have
Hmm.
eating dinner and drinking 3 or 4 beers, and they allow us to bring our beers in to
Hmm.
sample. And then after the that's done, we usually have a bottle share. So like say somebody went out of town, they'll bring beers for everybody to sample and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So and then they do a crawfish boil once a year.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that
they
sounds
do that once
delicious.
a year.
Yeah.
And then twice a year they do a bottle share at somebody's house. Um,
Okay.
which that was just this previous Saturday. So my wife and I went to that. Um, and they usually have a spread of food of, people bring different things to eat.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but the highlight of the food this year was this cheesecake. And I was like, I think I'm gonna make this cheesecake stout again. Like I was, because she loves my coffee stout, and I said
Yeah.
maybe I'll make the cheesecake coffee stout, and she's like, oh yeah, she goes, I need to try that. And then so there's a chili cook-off as well that they do once a
Okay.
year. So they try to do things to keep people in. I'm supposed to be redesigning the website, which I've kind of started slacking on that because it hadn't been redesigned in a while. So I need to jump on that to start helping redesign that. But it's a great set of guys, and one of the guys that's in it, he used to work at the homebrew store,
Okay.
and I everybody at the homebrew store was always been helpful, but he always had a lot of knowledge and that kind of stuff because he was a home
Yeah.
brewer himself, and he's in the club now, and it's he always has a tidbit or something to help you brew stuff. Um, this is the first year we have a new president in our homebrew club. Our other one
Okay.
moved, about an hour and a half down the road, and I'm pretty sure he's going to start a club wherever he moved to. But
Okay.
he also puts on a beer fest in Eunice, Louisiana. It's at a campground. I have never been to it because it's doing 3 beer fests is pretty rough in 2 months.
Well,
But
yeah, I
I
would say so.
but I've
Holy crap.
yeah, but I've competed. I've competed in the competition, like you ship in the bottles. I've done that a couple times. But I really need to make it to his beer fest. It's one of them. It sounds like a good time because it's a lot of people from the club that go. Um, but a lot of those guys in the beer club, they have a lot of knowledge. Everybody's always eager to help somebody learn something new. Um, but there was a before I started brewing, there was another brew club, and I mean they would have at each beer fest like 50 beers.
Holy crap.
It was nuts. Like,
Yeah.
so they would have this like canoe, and
Mm.
all the taps were in this canoe. Well, it's called a in Louisiana it's called a pirogue, and my wife is laughing in the other room because she says it piro,
Okay.
and so it's basically the same. It's like a different version of a canoe,
Okay. Fair enough.
or it's a Cajun canoe.
Okay. There you're perfect. Love
Yeah,
it.
and so this thing, I mean, they would have. I mean, you would walk in this beer fest, and like they would have to like scratch people off and add other beers because they had so many members in their
Oh,
beer group,
wow. Yeah.
and then it just went away. Like they all
It just,
decided to not do it
it's just
anymore.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, which was I'm like, how do y'all? I never really understood how you go from that many members to you're not even a club anymore. I guess it was maybe one guy that was, pulling all the triggers and he just got out of it and everybody else decided. I don't know. For a lot of us, we talked about that in the other podcast. That was the one, and you would see it the first one. And I mean, this is beer fest. I mean, this was, I think, a lot of an introduction to a lot of people into craft beer to see like, yes, you can make a beer taste like jalapenos. Like,
Yeah. Right.
that is a thing. And when I brew beer, I brew. I brew a lot of festival beers. Like, I like the creativity, like, I am not the best to say, "Hey, I'm gonna brew this to style." Like,
Okay,
I get
fair enough.
when I do competitions, I might get knocked on. I mean, I find in the keg it tastes better than how I bottled it. I
Mm,
find that my transport from keg to bottle is not that great.
mhm.
Even though I use one of those tap coolers, and there's always, I don't know, it's
Isn't
just
exactly
never as
right.
good coming out of the
Yeah.
keg. So that, I think, that's my biggest thing. But if you're coming to my tent at a beer fest, you're gonna have something that no one else has. Like, like when I made that margarita sour for the first time, I was like, this thing tastes like a margarita. Like, I nailed it. Like, I wrote in my notes, this is one of the best beers ever made and it should win.
Right, yeah.
And it was kind of a joke. I was like, because I wrote it and I was like, it's not gonna win. And I was like, when I won, I was like, I wrote this in my notes. you
Oh, that's
know,
so cool. That's so cool.
Mm, you know, my wife's probably listening in the other room, and she drinks more wine than beer,
Gotcha.
but she loves sours.
Okay.
So when I gave her that one, she drank the whole thing, and I was like, I knew it was good. Like, right then and
Yeah.
there, I was like, this is it.
So what kind of yeast did you end up using for that one?
So I used that sour vase. I was using Philly sour for a while.
Uh-huh.
But I find I would get kind of, it wasn't really an off taste, but I find like it would have like this appley, like it kind of had an apple taste to it, and I really didn't like it. But
Gotcha, yeah.
I started using a sour vase. I think that's how you say it. And,
I think that sounds right, yeah.
yeah, and the one thing I learned is you have to co-pitch it with something else, like, after a
Mhm.
couple hours. So basically, I'll pitch the sour vase, and then the next morning I'll use like the Verdant IPA yeast, or Farmhouse. There's a Farmhouse one I use as well.
Mhm.
Um, but if I want it to look like a margarita, I think the Verdant kind of helps with the haziness of it. So when you
Okay, yeah.
pour it,
Yeah.
you're adding the mango. So I think, the Verdant IPA kind of makes a hazy IPA. So
Mhm.
it kind of gives it that same appearance as, a margarita.
There you go.
But the first time I made it, I added a fifth of tequila to it.
Gosh.
So it went from a six, I think it was like 10 or 11%. Like, it did not taste it. It did not
That's
taste.
scary.
And so I've dialed it down to, maybe I add like a cup of tequila now.
Okay.
But you could add a fifth of tequila to it, and it'll be,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And I've made an Irish coffee stout before. That's one I need to
Oh, that
remake.
sounds pretty good.
And
Yeah.
I did add a fifth of Jameson to that.
Love Jameson, yeah.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that. Is like, you can add to the beer, and it doesn't really affect it that much. Like, I just add it to the keg and mix it together, and
Mhm. Mhm.
I've never really had issues with, like, head retention or any of that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, the Oreo one is the most one that messes with the head retention.
Right. So I
Um,
had problems with a coconut stout that I did because the oils and the coconut, there was like just no head whatsoever. Like it's just a way to get around that.
yeah.
Because I
How'd you
baked
use
my
you baked them?
yeah. So I took like coconut shavings and then I toasted them to get more flavor, and then I just basically dry hopped the coconut into my stout that I made. But it's one thing I read after the fact. I was reading some articles about coconut and beer in general. Like, there's always an oil that you just can't get rid of. So they expect no head. And it was true. I didn't have any head. And it was really, really good. I didn't add quite a fifth of Jim Beam to it. I think I did a pint of Jim Beam or something like that. But it turned out pretty good. It was a
Yeah.
very nice, tasty barrel ages.
I've tried to do pecans before, and I baked them,
Okay.
and that didn't really, like, that was kind of one of my failure beers. I was like, it sounded like a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
But the pecan, and I found some kind of liqueur that I tried. It
Didn't
was a
turn
waste.
out.
It just, yeah, just, I don't think the oils from pecans and liqueur just, it didn't really work out that well.
I find pecans to be a little I don't get like bitter by nature. I don't know how they are
Mhm.
toasted. I have no idea
Yeah.
if the bitterness gets more pronounced or like less pronounced in those.
Maybe if I'd have baked them and then, like, made, like, like, soaked them in bourbon or something like that, maybe that would've made
Oh,
them
yeah,
maybe or vodka,
interesting.
maybe that would've made it a little bit better.
Yeah, make a little tincture out of them instead, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's not a bad
yeah.
idea. Hmm.
Yeah, I have some whiskey barrel chunks that I really wanna do, soak them in Jameson and soak them in maple, and I
Mm,
wanna see how it's I've been wanting I'm not a big bourbon guy,
hmm. Me
so
either.
I don't really like barrel-aged stouts, but I was like, I do like, I love Irish coffees, so I do
Mm,
like Jameson. So I was like, you know what? I was like, maybe the Jameson soaked in the with the maple, and then I add a little coffee to it. Since it's not sitting in a barrel for
right.
2 years and getting, maybe it'll give it that hint of that. So
Hmm.
that's something I've been wanting to try. I just haven't tried it yet.
Totally fun. Yeah, I've yet to do that either. I've read different articles like freezing like the wood chips and taking them back out, put them back in, freezing them again, kind of go back and forth and kind of push some more alcohol into the wood grain somehow. I don't understand the chemistry behind it, but I thought that would be an interesting one as well. Now, see, I do like barrel aged beers. I find them very to be complex and delicious. It's one of those beer styles like it changes throughout the time you drink it because again they're like 14+% alcohol, right? I mean, you can slam one, but there's really no point. But if you sip on it, if you take a good, hour or longer, like you'll pick up all these flavors and you'll pick it from the beer side and the barrel side. Like I've had some like all of a sudden I start tasting like vanilla and I will get caramel notes and it's
Mhm.
just things warming up. And then all of a sudden, like I'll get the alcohol burn, like, oh, now I'm picking up the alcohol. It's a very complex ride. There's a festival in Chicago. It's called, well, the acronym is FOBAB, which stands for Fair Festival of Barrel Aged Beers. It's like the first weekend of November. I've yet to go, but if you ever do decide to go, key thing is pace yourself because you'll get trashed probably in the first hour because they're
Mhm.
pretty liberal on their pours. Instead of doing like 2 ounce pours, they probably give you five. So you'll probably just start, oh, this is really good. Next thing you know, you're just completely blitzed. You're like, I don't remember nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I I I've had some before that I was like, "This is okay," but it's
Yeah.
like, that's just not something usually that I will seek out. Like, it's
Right. Have you had
yeah.
like the Goose Island
Yeah, we
Bourbon County?
actually at our, bottle share, I think they had every year since 2015.
Holy crap! Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
wild ride. Yes, I've
Yeah,
done
so
7 years back, but never that far back.
yeah, I think they had every year since, I think, 2015. He had about 10 bottles on the table, and I walked up, I said, "Alright, like, which one's the best? Like, which one did y'all say?" They're like, "From here to here." I was like, "Okay, I'll try this one in the middle then."
I'll try one of those. Yeah, I think 22 is probably one of my
Yeah,
more favorite ones. I think I
yeah.
have all of them. That was pretty good to hear.
But, for
Uh,
the most part, I love the festivals. I just love talking about the beers, and
yeah,
I love, like, just, getting to know people, and they always like,
100%. Yep.
like, "Where can we get your beers?" I'm like, "Well, you gotta get invited. You gotta get invited over to our house," you know?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just fun to talk about it, and, you'll get other homebrewers or people that wanna get
Yeah,
into it, they'll come out and they'll ask questions and that kinda stuff.
yeah.
So it's cool to meet people, and it's like, you know, being in the IT world, it's just, it's
Lonesome.
nice. It's what?
Lonesome.
I wouldn't say lonesome, but it's, you know,
I do remote
n
work. It's definitely lonesome.
yeah, yeah. Well, no one ever brings you your laptop and says, "My laptop is awesome." Versus at a beer fest, they're like, "This beer is great, like, I
Right.
love it." Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's just, I've been in IT kinda my whole life, and it's what I do for a living, it's what pays the bills. I think I enjoy, for the most part, it's like, you're making something from scratch, and then they're liking what you made in your backyard. It's to me, that's fun.
Mhm.
That's something totally totally, different than your normal day to day. So
100%. Yep.
it's like to go out there and just have a blast for the day, just having people sample what you made and then also
Hmm.
trying what other people's creative things that they've made. Um, just and it's a competition, so it's fun and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yep. That's part of the reason why I'm kind of doing this podcast. I mean, I'm not sure how Louisiana is right now, but just throughout the nation itself, like, the beer trend has dipped down. Like everyone's talking
Yeah.
about it. You see the charts, and not a lot of people are in the hobby as much. Not a lot of people are really going to a lot of festivals. At least I think that's why some of the other festivals around here have slowed down quite a bit. Which is fine. It's happened before. It's going to happen throughout time. So I want to see this hobby thrive as long as possible. So I figured, part of this podcast is to interview people that like yourself who are passionate about it. They want to talk about it. They want to talk about their stories, their experiences behind it. Also get to know the home brewer behind it as well too, because um, your close friends don't probably know Ryan really well. The people that don't know Ryan very well, they may see you at these at these festivals. Listen to this podcast, but like, oh, I know a little bit more about him now, so I have
Yeah.
other things to talk to him about, except like beer all the time. But we prefer to talk about beer anyways than our IT jobs. So, or I would anyways.
I hear you. Yeah.
So you were recently on a podcast called ABV Podcast with somebody as yours, which was a great. Definitely give them a shout out. Go check it out. So what you did, I thought was really great. You did some food pairing with some beers that you guys talked about. Do you mind kind of recapping that experience
Yeah.
for us here?
Yeah. So one of the guys from the podcast, well, they both actually, there's another podcast they do called Eat the Boot.
Okay.
And, they go to they're kind of, food influencers. So they go to restaurants and, they interview the people that own it, that kind of stuff. So when Chuck told me, he goes, "Yeah, Tony's gonna come." I was like, "Man," I said, I was gonna cook like something for lunch, and I was like, "Man," I was like, our initial plan when I started brewing beer was to start doing food pairings. Like that was just kind of something fun we
Mm.
joked about and talked about doing because my
Mm.
wife and I both love to cook. So she was out of town in Fredericksburg doing wine stuff. So I was like, you know what? I said, I'm gonna make ribs and I have like some different kind of sausages in the freezer. So I was like, I'll grill those, do the ribs, smoke the ribs. And I was like making Albertsons orders. So I was like, well, I'll get some Gouda cheese. And then I was like, I have to find something to pair with the IPA. Like, cause I was like, I drank a lot of IPAs and a lot of times when I barbecue and cook, I'll eat after. I don't really eat at the same
Mm.
time. So I Googled, and I got on Chat GPT and they
Okay.
said wasabi peas would pair with the IPA. And I was like, really? Like I never would have put those two things together.
Nope. No.
So that week I had actually bought wasabi peas before that. And I was like, well, let me go pour an IPA and check this out. Like this is
Right.
so I go in the garage, I pour a little taster, and I'm like, okay, like this is actually pretty good. Like like it kind of dows down the wasabi, but also makes the beer still taste fruity.
Okay.
So I was like, this is an interesting pairing because I never would have put these two things
Mm-hmm.
together. So I've been kind of getting into Weizenbachs lately. That's been kind
No.
of one um, that I've kind of got into brewing. I had one from a brewery in Austin called Live Oak years ago, and I never really had one that I liked as much as that one. I've only had like one or
Gotcha.
two cans of it, and I was hoping to get some this year, but they did a lot like a shorter. They didn't do as big of a release.
Mm.
I couldn't get any because I was like, I brewed it last year. And I was like, I'm gonna brew it again. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna brew this for that. So I paired that with the ribs, and then I had a Belgian beer. It was supposed to be a blonde. It turned a little darker, which I guess I realized later that a Belgian blonde can be darker. So I was like, I just kind of call it a Belgian,
There you go.
you know.
Perfect.
And so we paired that, I think, with the sausage. And let's see, trying to think what was the other beer I had. One beer we paired with the cheese, and I can't remember which one. Um, Actually, let me think. We had the Belgian. Actually, I think we did the blonde with the sausage and the cheese to see which one we would like.
Okay,
And
there you go.
then
Yeah.
and then I made a vegan brownie to go with the coffee stout.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there was something I saw on Instagram. It was how to make a brownie out of sweet potatoes.
Okay. How'd that turn out?
Yeah, so it came out actually pretty good. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, it's not the best brownie you're ever gonna eat in your life, but
Right.
it's,
Well, yeah.
but it was, it's kind of chocolatey and, it was real soft and but I didn't tell him what it was. I said, I'm not gonna tell you what's in this till after. And then I think Chuck goes, is this a damn vegan brownie? You know? But it tasted pretty good with with the coffee stout. Um
Yeah.
so that was a good time. It was he does a he's I think he's on his third or fourth season of doing podcast.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and
Congrats.
he was like, man, he's like, I've been doing these podcasts for a while and I've never had one food pairing. So,
There you go.
maybe I
Yeah.
set a new standard for his podcast.
100%.
But no, it was a good time and it was something that they didn't expect. I just kind of did it on my own and
hmm
but it was fun. And it gave us something else to talk about during the podcast and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. That was a good podcast. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That was a good time. What kind of sausage did you make? 'Cause I don't remember you saying it in the podcast, if I don't
So it
remember
was a
anyways.
hickory smoked sausage.
Okay.
I actually got it from my neighbor. I think her family owns it. It's from up north Louisiana called, I think, Down Home brand. Down,
Okay.
yeah. I hadn't actually never heard of it before, and I had brought something to her one day, and she actually gave me 2 packs of sausage. So the first
Oh,
one
that's
we had was like
perfect.
first a green onion, which was really good,
That
and
sounds
then we
good.
tried,
Yeah.
I had that one in the freezer, so I grilled that one, and they were both really good sausages.
Were they pork, beef sausage?
Pork,
Or pork?
pork,
Pork.
pork.
Okay. There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost a little.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's not a lot of beef sausage in Louisiana. It's almost all
Yeah.
pork.
It's not really common really anywhere. It's kind of hard to find. Like,
Yeah.
because I prefer like beef hot dogs actually
Yeah.
over regular hot dogs, but those are even hard to find, right? So, um,
Have you had Wagyu hot dogs before?
no, I've heard of them, but I think it was probably on that podcast.
Yeah,
Now I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Shout out to the Meatatory. They gave me a gift card for one of my beer fest, and
Okay.
they uh they have these Wagyu Denver steaks. If you've never had a
Mm,
Denver steak is it's an amazing steak.
okay.
It's almost a cut, kind of like right by the chuck roast, but man, it's
Okay.
really good.
Now I'm getting hungry. And it's 8:30 at night.
Yeah,
So another big question for
yeah,
you. All right. So you said you're looking to get into podcasting.
yeah.
So what's holding you back, and what would you want to talk about?
So the mic that I have, that was what Chuck had, and I was like, well, these are pretty cool. So I started kind of playing around with this. I was like, well, these are cool where I can kind of interview people in different
Yes.
places. So I have a few hobbies from brewing beer,
hmm
tennis, cooking, and that kind of stuff. So I think I kind of want to do like people's hobbies and like learn about other
Mm.
people's hobbies and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
But it kinda the hobbies that I have kinda gives me stuff to start off with,
hmm
and just kinda learn
100%.
more,
Yep.
and maybe kinda help influence, smaller businesses and that kinda stuff, kinda interview
hmm
them, like, what are their 'cause, you know, I like to brew beer, I give it all away for free. So it's like I'm not making money off this, but,
Right.
I have some friends that, do have small businesses that are they're working part-time for their hobby and working
Mm.
full time. So I was like, this would be kind of a cool thing to kind of help promote their small businesses and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just something I'm kind of working on right now.
Kind of kick around. Yeah. So I thought about this for about a year and a half before I actually pulled the plug
Yeah.
and pulled the trigger on it. So yeah, I
Well,
get
and
it.
I reached out to Chuck from the ABV, and because I had been part on one of his podcasts, one of the beer fests we went to, and then
hmm
I was like, let me try to be on a couple first and just see how I like it, and then
Yeah.
kind of just go from there. I was like, you know, So I kind of bought a couple microphones. I've been playing around with that. But this was I think it's the Rode Road Pro 2 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, this is just there's a base that hooks up to my laptop, and it's completely wireless.
Okay, so it's Bluetooth, I'm assuming, probably.
Well, it hooks up to this, transmitter.
Oh, okay.
So it hooks up to the
That's cool.
transmitter, and
Yeah.
then basically, this is wireless, and
Uh-huh.
then I just used my earbuds for the audio.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I was thinking I should probably pick up something before I get HomebrewCon in June because there's definitely all people I'm going to meet there probably would want to chit chat with anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll look into something like that.
Yeah, these are cool, like, there's a little magnet thing that kinda sticks on your shirt and that kinda stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's really cool, man.
if you go look on Chuck, the ABV podcast, I think it's in June or July of his episodes last year, he basically is
Mhm.
going to all the home brewers and interviewing them, and I think some, brewers too, just, like, talking
Okay,
to them to the thing. But I want to ask
that's
you,
really
have you
cool.
thought of doing, like, a podcast panel with, some of the people you've had on the podcast so they could all kinda, like, talk to each other?
That would be interesting. Yeah. So,
I don't know if you can do it on Riverside, or you would have to do it on YouTube
maybe I
or
could. I
maybe a big
think.
Zoom.
Yeah, big Zoom. Yeah, big Zoom. I probably could. That'd be a short episode, right? Because Zoom will allow us like 20 minutes for free, I believe. Riverside, I know for sure you can do for 3. That would be interesting because pretty sure I can get my homebrew buddies to do it, like no
Yeah.
problem, right? It would be the other ones who are kind of spread out throughout the United States, but it would be interesting. No, that's a good idea. I want to steal that idea. I'm gonna
Yeah,
jot that
no, no, I
down.
mean, I was
Panel
like,
just to kind of get an idea. Yeah.
well, I mean, when you started talking about, like, CH and, Apartment Brewer and that kinda stuff, it was like, a lot of us have looked at these people on YouTube for years and what they're
Hmm.
doing, the equipment they're using, so it might be kinda
Yeah.
cool, to kind of get these people, and I don't know, it's just an idea.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, maybe at the homework con, maybe I get some of them together and chit chat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No, that's a good idea. I really,
yeah,
yeah, I appreciate that one,
yeah.
buddy.
No, I thought that was,
Um,
I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, because I was listening to one, I was like, it'd be really cool, like, to ask, other of the some of the other people questions and that kinda stuff.
right, yeah. So tomorrow, like I said, you get a homebrew meeting, but tomorrow I'm gonna do an AMA on YouTube. I posted that like a few different times, so I figured people could ask me questions. If they have any questions like why I'm doing this, so on and so forth. I don't want to get too far into it because being too far off the topic here, but I do have like another like advice question to kind of ask you. So for someone who's just starting out and they're kind of worried about water chemistry on the first few batches, what are some of the small tweaks that you would suggest for them to try to get a better product? Because because beer is 94, 95% of of the things we drink.
So I bought the subscription to Brew and Water, um,
Okay.
and basically I use all distilled water. Um, I try to get my pH to, I think, 5.2.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, so when it's a stout, I try to get it to 5.5.
Hmm.
But I guess my advice would be just to learn how to use brewing water.
Yeah.
S you know, you could put in, if a lot of people use, their faucet water and that kind of stuff, which a lot of
Hmm.
our people in our club do use faucet water, and they make great beers. I think I'm just too lazy, and I was like, I wanna make sure my beers is where it needs to be,
Right.
and I've thought of buying a remote, the RO water kit and
Yeah.
that kinda stuff. I don't know why I haven't yet, but I still just go right to Walmart and buy my 10 gallons of water.
That's I might distill as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it could come in a bigger thing, but, every time I leave Walmart with 10 to 20, you know, bottles of water, the guy's always like, "That's a lot of water." I'm like, you know? So, I don't know. I've, uh, I've actually
Make it
act I've actually
okay.
asked the guy at Albertsons to go in the back before and like, "Hey, do you have any more distilled water? Because I need, like, 3 more bottles." And he's like, "I just stocked this and you took all 17 gallons already, you know? Let me go check." I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to restock it anyway." You
Right?
know?
Yeah. 'Cause I took it all.
So, yeah, I've also went to 4 stores to get distilled water before,
My.
but I live around. I mean, there's 3 grocery stores like on our street, so it's not that bad.
Fair enough. Yeah, not
But
bad. Yeah.
I do find like with my sour that I've made, I really think that I could use regular water and it would be fine.
Okay.
I just hate to waste the time to do it. But I guess, the biggest thing would be to kind of learn about water, maybe ask at a homebrew
Mhm.
shop or advice, or I've never sent something to the support for brewing water. But I'm pretty sure he would be real helpful if he did to kind of help you
Right.
work through it. Because I mean it's a pretty if you're kind of nerdy, it's a pretty cool spreadsheet, that all what it does. And I think you pay 20 or $25 and it's yours for life.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a huge
yeah.
investment.
I have Brewing Water, I have Brewfather, and I have Beersmith. But each
Wow.
one,
Okay.
yeah, each one has its like I find that Beersmith will give me the right color of a beer I want to do, but Brewfather won't. And then Brewing Water gives me my water chemistry. For the most part, I use the same. If I'm brewing a 5-gallon batch of beer and it's 10 gallons of distilled water. I use 6.3 of one, 2.8 of the other, and I use 6 of the acid. And I just know that in my head that's what it is. But whenever I do a stout, I add no salts to it at all.
Okay.
My pH is at 5.5 every single time.
There you go.
Because I use a lot of times when I do stouts, I use pale pale chocolate malt because it doesn't quite give me the bitterness, and I use chocolate wheat.
Okay.
So it
That's a good combination.
doesn't really put you over the pH level. It kinda just
Right.
so I could be completely wrong on how that's being done, but
No, that
yeah,
sounds fine to me.
yeah.
Like I can't. You may have heard me brought this up before, but like if anybody uses the black prince or pence, however you want to say it, in their stouts or any dark beers, like I can taste it and I don't like it. Has a really weird astringent flavor that just sticks to my tongue and I can't get rid of it for like quite a while. I have to drink quite a bit of water just to wash it away. And the only reason why I learned that because I made a stout with it because it was like one of those recipes and blah blah blah. I was like going, oh, I never tried that. Let me just buy it. And it wasn't much. I think I bought like 8 ounces. Yeah, so like half a pound. I think I'm going to use, I think it was under 2 ounces. And I was like, oh wow, this don't taste good. So I made that stout again without that. And it tasted totally fine. So it's got to be that. And every time someone uses it, I ask them, do you have this in there? They're like, yes. I'm like, oh, I can taste this. I'm not a fan. I did want to bring up Brewfather for just a second. I think it's just my personal pet peeve. I've noticed the more I've used it. Sometimes when I buy malt and I go look for it, it's not always in the list of malts available. So I find like the closest thing to it, but I wonder if that throws off my pH just a little
I don't
bit.
think it does. If it's I mean,
You don't think so?
if you're using a different version of Pilsner, I don't think it will.
So I do
If
have a
you're
pH meter I don't use as much as I probably should, but I feel like Brewfather is fairly close enough,
yeah,
like I've
yeah.
noticed, but people hop at me about I should use it anyways, but
I mean, I mean, I bought it, so I might as well use it. So a lot of times
yeah.
I'll get it. I don't know. It's just kind of a fail safe, I guess. Now it's like, let me just double check this.
Yeah.
I have a friend that she's a chemist,
Mm,
and I would call her and like, hey, like explain this to me. She's like, God,
right.
you only call me whatever you want to know about water now.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Back to there was one on BYO.com. There was a recipe, and it used to be free. I don't think it's free anymore. I think you have to have a subscription to BYO.com. But it was how to make a goza. And
Okay.
if you Google goza, a relic returns is the first thing that comes up. And that recipe, he goes into detail about the how what the goza is and all this kind of stuff. And it kind of breaks everything down. It shows you a all grain and a extract recipe. And that article, for some reason, like I started basing all my recipes off of that because I was like the first beer ever made that came out really well. And I was like, this is okay. I understand how to build a recipe now. And I was like, I guess that'd be my advice is like, and kind of with the goes, I wasn't doing any water chemistry at all.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
just taking water out of the faucet and, putting it in there, and it came out well 'cause, um, you were using some acid malt, so it was dropping the pH.
Mm. Hmm.
So, it was kinda making it slightly tart, and then I was flavoring it with some kind of fruit, so you could hide a lot with that recipe, but it taught you how to build a recipe from scratch.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. I'm still trying to finish the Gordon Strong's, was it the Better Beer book? I've not
Yeah,
quite finished it yet. I had to look at it twice because I forgot the name of it. It only got like chapter three, but it's really good though overall because it talks about some of the sciencey stuff behind it and what you get at certain temperatures and stuff like that. Because like the bulk of the stuff I've learned was either from YouTube videos or how to brew beer, and some advice that my friends have given me. So I take all that knowledge, I kind of tweak it. But everyone's always recommended this book, and I was just trying to sit down and read it. I just haven't had. It's hard to find the time. I see is what I'm
yeah.
trying to say.
One of the coolest things about our homebrew club now is we have a
Hmm.
Telegram, and there's, like, different, channels in
Okay.
it. So, there's a lot of people that come in, and they'll ask random questions about stuff,
Hmm.
and, we had one guy last week put something about closed, transferring, and I was like, why do you put CO2 into your fermenter?" He was like, "You don't do that?" I was like, "No." I said, I never even thought to do that." And he goes, "Yeah, it pushes it out faster." I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I'll have to try that next time," because I was like, when I do it, I just use gravity to do it, but, like, it's kinda hard when you have a lot of hops in a beer because it kinda gets stuck, so I was like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
anything kinda to help push it would even be better. It's like, that's the one thing about home brewing is you're gonna learn something new
So
all the
many
time.
trips it takes. Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm going to get into a fun little section, like kind of like
Yeah,
the rapid fire stuff, which you're already kind of aware of. So I try to change them up for each interview, so we won't have exactly the same questions. But so here we go. Hazy or clear?
hazy,
Hazy. There you go. Ales or lagers?
ales.
Favorite hop variety?
Super Delic.
There you go. Favorite yeast strand?
I use a lot of Verdant IPA.
Okay.
I sent you a recipe, and I've been using that a
Y-
lot for that Hefeweizen,
Yeah, you did.
and
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
I think it's 3068, I think it is what it is, but that's been it's for Hefeweizen and my Weizenbock, so that's I keep a pack of that at all times now.
There you go. That's perfect, man. Uh, what is your brew day snack?
Usually some sort of taco.
There you go.
Yeah.
Favorite beer glass?
Um, I like a Tiku. I have
Okay.
started kinda getting to, like, the German style, Hefeweizen glass. So when I drink my Weizenbock now, I drink it out of a cold mug for some reason. It's the only one I'll drink out of a cold glass.
There you go. That's awesome, man. What's the in your opinion, what is the most underrated beer style?
Um,
There you go. If you could only brew one style for the rest of your life, what would it be?
IPA, New England IPA.
There you go. Best Louisiana food to pair with a homebrew, which feels like that's kind of a very
Man,
subjective question, but
that's a tough one. Um, I don't know on that one. I've never really, I guess I've never
okay.
really paired any. I just did the first food pairing the other day, so,
There you go. That's fine. Yeah, that's
um,
perfect.
I don't know. Maybe some you probably never heard of this. It's called Boudin,
Yep, I've heard of
Boudin.
Boudin. Yep. Hmm.
Maybe Boudin in an IPA.
Okay.
Have to
That's
try
yeah,
that one out.
because boudin is just sausage, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it's
with
like more like
rice and stuff
rice.
like
It's
that.
more like rice and pork and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the best Louisiana brewery?
Uh, Probably Cypress Coast and then Parish Brewing.
Okay, so Parrish, I've heard of the Cypress Coast. I don't think I've heard of that
Cypress
one.
Cypress is pretty small. They're
Okay.
in Baton Rouge. I probably go there the most out of any brewery. Because they're here.
Okay.
But Parish is probably Parish and Abita are probably the most known.
Abita, yeah, Abita's. I do like some of their stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Abita's pretty big. But probably the most known in Louisiana is Parish.
So one of my homebrew buddies, now that we keep talking about Parrish, I believe he worked for them when he lived in Louisiana.
Okay, that's
Because
cool.
now he lives here in Tennessee and he travels the United States. He does water chemistry for a bunch of plants
Wow.
and stuff like
Okay.
that. So he gave a presentation on water chemistry, went over my head, but it was a brilliant, brilliant guy. He makes phenomenal beer as well too. So worst beer you've ever tasted?
I think I tried this seaweed beer once.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Was
I
it
think it
too
was
salty
I don't think I like
or
seaweed very much.
okay? Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess the inverse of that question: best beer you've ever tasted.
EDH Ghost just has a special
Okay.
place in my heart, man.
Hey.
If they sold it probably for $30 a 4-pack, I'd probably still buy it.
Mm-hmm. I guess a quick little question. I guess like an advice question because I get this one asked to me quite often. I think people are very curious, so they're always afraid to pull the trigger to get into this hobby. So, what advice would you give them, like to push them over that edge, just to kind of get into it?
Start small. You can always, the things you buy, you can always use later. Um, you know, s- Start with maybe, I hate to say it, start with a kit from a local homebrew store if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Buy Mr. Beer kit just to learn the process of what goes in it, because if you think the Mr. Beer kit is hard, it's only going to get, harder along the way.
Yes.
Um, but it's, you get to learn the bottling and you get to learn the boiling and the mashing and, all of these different, well, I guess you don't really mash the extract, but, I don't know, you just kind of learn the process of the brewing.
Yeah. Sanitize. You can't forget
Yeah,
sanitize.
yeah, yeah. The cleaning,
Yeah.
that's kind of the one thing that I've always thought it's like the cleaning. There's so much cleaning. And, once I
Yeah. You
switched to
nailed it.
once I switched to the anvil, that was the one thing I was like, it's less to clean, it's less work, you know.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, 5 hours, I'm done from start to scratch. And one of the cool things with the anvil, which I recently found this out, is
Hmm.
there's just a timer on it. So when I go to bed at night, I know if I'm gonna wake up at 4 or 5 a.m., I can set the timer to start to boil the water or start to heat the
Oh
water.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically that saves me an hour. So if I really set the water the night before, I
Hmm.
can knock my 5 day into a 4-hour brew day.
Right, exactly. I think the fastest I've gotten done because they're small batches now is about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Was from start to clean.
Yeah.
But I do propane still.
Yeah.
Still brew in a bag that way. I'd like to get electric, especially for the winter months, because doing the dance in the garage sucks, right? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't always get super cold in Tennessee, but this past winter we had some 0 days, which is very uncommon for us. But
So
always gotta
Anvil always has a Black Friday deal.
yeah,
So I got mine on Black Friday. And their support's
perfect.
really good. Like I've emailed them at 7 a.m. before and got an email back at 7:30.
Holy
Like
crap,
try
that
this
is
and this
good.
kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
their support's always been good.
yeah.
But that Weizenbach recipe I did send you.
Mm-hmm.
So one cool thing about it was in our beer club we had something called a brew off, but it was a draft.
Okay.
So they had 6 of us or 5 of us, and we drafted ingredients. So you had a list of ingredients. In the third round, I picked pretzels,
Okay.
and they were like, "Really? Like no one was gonna pick pretzels?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I wanted to make a splash in the in the draft." And basically, I brewed the Weizenbach, and then when I cold crashed it, I dry hopped it with saltless pretzels for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And basically, it kinda gave the banana and the clove and then, like, the pretzel flavor. And
That's
then
pretty cool, man.
when I kegged it, I added probably a tablespoon of salt to it. So it
Okay.
had the banana, the clove, and the pretzel flavor, and then with the salt. So it was really cool. It was a really cool beer.
Yeah, that sounds really neat. So is that the recipe that you gave me, or is that the
Well, I mean, it's the same recipe,
just
um,
minus the
just
pretzels and
minus the
salts of it?
pretzels.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
thank you for going ahead because I don't even have to ask that question now.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
uh,
I knew you were gonna ask for something, I was like, "Well, I'll go ahead and send this one because that's the one
that
I've
was
been kinda
perfect. Yeah, 'cause it
brewing."
makes it easier because usually when I ask the question, I always have to do a follow up like a week before the episode goes live. It's like, hey, if you had a chance, you say the recipe
Yeah.
real quick.
Well, I
And
figured it'd give
everyone
us
always
something else.
does. So
Yeah, I figured it'd be something else to talk about too. 'Cause
yep, perfect, man. I appreciate it. Um, So I'm down to like the last couple questions before we wrap things up. Is there anybody that you would like for me to interview next?
I'll ask tomorrow in my homebrew meeting, see if there's anybody.
Go for it. Yeah, you have my information.
Yeah.
If you still have that Google form,
Yeah.
you
Send it to
just
them.
you just give it to them. If not, I can email it to you again. You have my email.
Yeah.
Is there any socials you want to drop for this to be a perfect time?
I'm on Instagram. It's at the Beermacy. That's pretty much the only one I use for that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's we don't do. I mean, I've done the giveaway on there before, but it was like you had to be there to win it.
that makes
But
sense.
usually I'll put stuff on there to advertise for whatever beer fest we're going to, or whatever beer festival we're going to, and that kind of stuff.
Right, that's perfect.
Sometimes I'll put a random cooking thing on there or something I made because it was supposed to go on another one, and that kind of stuff.
Yep,
Um, but no, it's that's it.
that's it. Well, Ryan, has been a pleasure chit chatting with my man. That's has been an exciting time with you. Hopefully, you get your podcast kicked off here
Yeah,
shortly, and maybe you can reach out to me, and I'll be your guest. You can ask me all those sorts
awesome.
of questions.
That'd be awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect, buddy. All right, Ryan. I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. See you.